Yeah, hi Shweta.
Hi Rajesh, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for asking. You too. Okay, yeah. Let us start our interview here. So I hope your verification and all done through my HR, right?
Yes, it's completed. Yes.
Okay. Let me introduce myself. I am Sweta. I have 7 years of experience as a Azure SQL Database Administrator. I would like to hear your roles and responsibilities at your organization. Are you gonna brief about me?
Sure. Myself, Rajesh, I'm having total 5 years of experience as a SQL database administrator. So that is my total and relevant experience. And previously, I worked with Cognizant, and currently, I'm working with L&T Mindtree as a SQL database administrator. And coming to my roles and responsibilities, I have worked on installation of SQL services, and we apply the cumulative updates and service packs, and also we do upgradations and migrations, and also we have worked on alerts like disk space alerts, long running queries, job failures, and server down alert synchronization issues. And also worked on user management like creating logins, granting the accesses, and resetting the passwords as well. And also expertise in dealing with the log file full issues, data file full issues, and TMDB issues as well. And worked on CDC as well. Coming to the high availability, I have worked on all the high availabilities like configuration of log shipping, doing the manual failover, working with tough file and work file, and configuration of data mirroring as well. And I have also experienced in working with snapshot replication and transaction replications, and troubleshooting of latency issues between publisher and subscriber. And I have a good experience in working with always on availability groups as well, like doing a manual failover and doing DB refresh activities on always on databases, syncing the logins, working with the jobs. And coming to the performance tuning, I have worked on all the performance tuning activities like tuning the queries, adding the missing indexes, checking the execution plans, and also identifying the critical blockings and deadlocks. Work with the tools like database tuning advisor, profiler, and query store as well. And coming to the security part, I have worked on transparent data encryption, column level encryption, and data masking as well. I mean the data dynamic masking. And coming to the tickets, I have worked on all the tickets like incident tickets, service request, and also we raise change requests whenever we are working on a production level changes like standard change, normal change, and emergency changes. And we also attend the cap calls to get the approvals from the application owner. And also we do health checks for the critical service as well.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to hear a detailed procedure for SQL Server installation. Can you let me understand what are the details you request from your client and how do you gonna perform that?
First, we'll raise a normal change for this, and we'll get the approvals from the application owners and server owners. And after that, before we start the installation, we need some details from the client, like which version we have to install, if it is a 2016 or a 19, and which edition we have to install, if it is free edition or it is a enterprise edition or a standard edition. We need a license key for that. And after that, we need 3 service accounts and passwords for database engine service and SQL Server agent service and browser service. And also we need which features we have to select if the client is need any reporting services or integration services along with the database engine services. And also need to know which collation settings we have to select, and what are the drive configuration, like where the data files and log files and backup files has to go on a default basis. And also which type of authentication we have to select, if it is a SQL or a mixed authentication. And we need a SA password as well, which password we have to set for the SA. And also we have to anything like if we have to enable the file stream, or if it is a 2019, how much the max memory we have to configure, and what the max DOP value we have to configure. and all these details we need from the client. After getting all these details, we'll start with the installation process.
Okay. Have you worked on Always On?
Yes.
Okay. Can you tell me how to do DB refresh activity on Always On databases?
First, we have to take a copy only backup from the source server. Then the destination server is having always on availability group configuration, and the database which we are going to do a DB refresh activity, the particular database is a part of always on availability group. We have to remove the database from the availability group, and then we have to take a permissions backup from the destination database. If we can also take the destination the database backup as well, if that is an optional one. So after removing the database from the always on availability group, after taking the permission backup, we have to restore the database with the replace and with recovery. After doing the restore, we have to re-add the database to the always on availability group. Before that, we have to remove we have to delete this database from all the secondary replicas. After that, we have to re-add the database to the always on availability group, and in the process of that, we have to select automatic seeding option if it is a 2016 or later versions. So whenever we select this automatic seeding option, the database will be automatically added to all the secondary replicas. But the prerequisite is like the data file path and log file path should be same in the primary side and as well as all the secondary sides. Otherwise, we have to do a manual sync. If you don't have same path, or if you don't have an automatic seeding option, we have to do the manual sync, and we have to select the join only option.
Exactly.
And I missed one thing, like the permissions, whatever permissions we have taken, those permissions we have to restore in the same database before adding the database to the AG.
Perfect. Okay. Do you have hands-on experience on migration?
Yes.
Okay. What kind of migration it is?
We prefer side-by-side migration, like over this, in-place upgradation.
May I know why do you prefer the side-by-side migration over in-place upgradation?
Because if you're doing the in-place upgradation, there is a chance of failures and there is a chance of data loss. If you're doing side-by-side migration, we'll be installing the standalone servers separately, and we'll be moving the resources from one by one, so that the business will run without any interruption. If anything happens, the current server and the current application won't affect anything.
Okay. Just brief me the process. How do you perform this side-by-side migration?
We have to get some, we have to install a standalone server, standalone Windows server. So for that, we have to request Windows team to configure a Windows server, the drives, which drives we need, and how much space it should be. Everything we have to give to the Windows team. After building the new server, we have to install SQL Server on the newly added server, and then we have to move everything from a source server to destination server. Like first, we have to move databases. So for that, we have to take a full backup of all the databases, including system databases and user databases, and we have to restore the same in the destination server. After that, we have to move the logins with the help of sp_help_rev login script, and we have to execute the same output in the destination server to create the logins. After that, we have to check if there is any orphan users are identified. If any orphan users are there, we have to fix them. For that, we have different options like autofix or SID match, autofix or update one. Using any one of the method, we can fix the orphan users. After that, we have to move the linked servers. Linked servers we can script out, and we can execute the same on the destination server to create the linked servers. But we have to take care of the credentials, like which credentials are configured for the linked servers. And after that, if we have any high availability like database mirroring or always on replication, we have to configure the same on the destination server as well. Coming to this maintenance plans, we cannot script out or we cannot copy the maintenance plans. For that, we need a help of integration team. they'll be creating a package for the maintenance plans. So we have to deploy the same on the destination server, and we have to move the jobs. Jobs also we can script out, and we can execute the same script on the destination server to create all the jobs. So after moving everything, we have to send an email to the application team to check the connectivity and change the connection string. And after completion of this, we have to wait for 21 days, and after monitoring the 21 days, if everything goes well on the new server, we have to decommission the old server.
Okay, in the middle of your words, sometimes there is some robotic voice I am able to hear. So I just want you to make sure your internet connection.
Okay, fine.
I just found it only once. Yeah, just make sure of this. I don't want to have any disturbances.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm good. I'm fine. I'm good with that.
Okay. Let me continue. So I have multiple databases to migrate, but most of them are around 2 TB. So, and we have only 6 hours of time. I just like to know how you are gonna manage to take backups and restore those 2 TB databases.
If we have a very less downtime in that, we have to move the databases which are around 2 TB, as I said. What we're gonna do is, before the migration day, we can take the full backup of all the databases, and we can restore them in a destination server with no recovery. At the time of migration day, we can take a differential backup, and we can restore them with recovery on the destination server. Even if you don't have a time to take a differential backup, it's not enough time, and we cannot do it within a 6 hours of time. What we can do is, before the migration day, we can configure the log shipping from the source server to destination server. At the time of migration time, we can disable the log shipping, and we can just continue the migration process.
Yes, this is what I want to hear. Fine. Okay, let me go with some security things. So how do you create a login and grant the access to always on databases?
If you receive a request to create a login and grant the access on the always on database, first we have to create a login on the primary replica, and we have to grant the access on the database. And if you are creating logins on always on servers, the same login should be a replicate to all other secondary replicas. Otherwise, if any manual failover or automatic failover happens, the login will not work. So after creating the login, we have to script out this login, or else we have to get the script from the sp_help_rev login, and we have to execute the same script on the secondary replicas, so that the login will create and the access will be granted to the secondary always on database. Otherwise, we cannot create we cannot create and grant the access to the always on database from the secondary. It won't allow you actually. So that's why I have to script out, and we have to execute the same on all the secondary replicas, so that the login will be created in the secondary replicas as well. If anything like automatic failover or manual failover happened, the login will continue to work.
Okay, it's something like generating script.
Yes.
Fine. So is there any way to sync the logins between primary and secondary replica instead of doing it manually?
Yeah, I think we can use the PowerShell script to sync the logins, but I don't have a knowledge of PowerShell. We can do one thing. If it is a 2022 version, we have contained availability groups. We can add master database and MSDB database to the always on availability groups as well. So since the logins information is stored in a master database, whenever we add login on the primary replica, that will be automatically replicated to the secondary replicas. But the thing is, it will work only on 2022 version.
Yes. Okay. What is automatic seeding and how does it works?
Automatic seeding was introduced in 2016 version. Before 2016, we don't have automatic seeding option. So whenever we add the database to the EG group, it will automatically add it to the secondary replicas without doing any manual sync. We don't have to take any full and log backups, and it will automatically add it to the secondary replicas. As I said, the prerequisite is the data file path and the log file path should be same on the primary and all other secondary replicas.
Okay. Can you explain me how the query will run on the background in the SQL Server?
You mean the architecture?
Right.
Okay. So whenever the user runs any query, it has to go through some layers like protocol layer, relational engine layer, and also storage engine. First, it will go to the SNA layer, that is a SQL Server network interface, which is having 3 protocols. One is a shared memory and named pipes and TCP/IP. When the SQL Server installed in the same machine, then the shared memory should be enabled, and the SQL Server installed in a intranet or a LAN connection, and then the named pipe should be enabled, and the SQL servers are installed in a remote places like the SQL servers are in other country or like US or UK, then the TCP/IP should be enabled. So if a connection is good, then it will go to the command parser. So command parser will be checking the synthetic errors and semantic errors. Like if it is a synthetic errors means whatever the functions that we are using in the query, like select or insert or update or any other functions, those functions are there in the SQL Server or not, it will be checking in the synthetic errors. If it is semantic errors, whatever it will be checking for the spelling mistakes or whatever the table names or database name that we're using, those tables or databases are really existed or not in the SQL Server, it will be checking. So after checking the synthetic errors and semantic errors, it will send the query to the query optimizer. So query optimizer, like it will be creating a best execution plan based on the statistics available and estimated number of rows. After creating a best execution plan, it will send to the query executor. So query executor will have to execute the query based on we have to check it as a select statement or a non-select statement. So access methods is the one who's decides that it is a select statement or a non-select statement. If it is a non-select statement like insert, update or delete, it will go to the transaction manager and then it will go to the transaction log file. If it is a select statement, it will go to the buffer manager, which will contains this plan cache, data cache, buffer pool and the dirty pages. If the requested data is present in the data cache, it will get the data from the data cache and it will throw the output. This process we call this as a logical rates, and if the particular data is not present in the data cache, it has to go back to the data file which is in a physical disk. It has to get the data from the data file. This process we can call it as a physical reads.
That's a great explanation.
Thank you.
Okay. What is RPO and RTO?
RPO is kind of a service level agreement between client and the company. Like if anything happens and the database is corrupted and the data has been lost, how much data is how much data loss has been accepted by the client, how much data can be lost. That is a RPO, recovery point objective. And whenever the data is lost, how much time the client gives us to recover the data is called RTO, or recovery time objective.
Yes. The client acceptance for data loss and the client accept for the duration.
Duration of this
Data. Okay. What happens if I add a secondary data file to the database which is part of AG?
If you add a file to the AG database, it will continue to run and the data will sync if it is configured for this automatic seeding. If it is 2016 or later version, an automatic seeding is enabled and the data file path and log file path should be the same, it will continue to work. But if anything like the automatic seeding is not available and the data file path and log file path is not the same, in that case the databases will go into the out of sync. In that case, we have to remove the database from the AG group and we have to add the secondary data file, and again we have to re-add this database to the always on availability group by doing the manual sync, and I have to select the join only option.
Okay. Have you worked with replication?
Yes.
Can you explain me the replication types and what are their uses?
We have snapshot replication, transaction replication, and merge replication, and peer-to-peer replication. So whenever the changes are not happening very frequently, then we can go for a snapshot replication. We can schedule a snapshot agent once a day or twice a day, and the changes have been happening very frequent. Then we can go for a transaction replication, so that the changes will be reflected on the secondary on a very quick basis. Whenever the changes have to happen on the vice versa, like it has to be happen bidirectional, like in merge replication, like whenever you have been doing any changes on the publisher side, those changes will be reflected to subscriber side. Whenever we made any changes on the subscription side, it will be reflected to publisher side. That is a bidirectional. And whenever we need multiple subscriptions, like see in a peer-to-peer replication, there are if imagine we have 4 peers. If you do any changes on the first peer, it should be replicated to all other peers. If any changes has been made any other peer, it should be replicated to all other peers. If we need multiple subscribers, the data should replicate in multiple servers, then we can go for a peer-to-peer replication.
Okay. Do you know about rolling upgrades?
Rolling upgrade is a process, doing upgrading the server or applying the patching on the server without a data loss. Whenever the servers is in a cluster or always on, we have to do a patch or upgrade without a data loss. That means, imagine if we have a 4-node replica, one is a primary and 3 secondary replicas. What we have to do is we have to select any one of the secondary first, and we have to apply the patch on the secondary. So after applying the patch, we have to restart the server, and we have to do some health checks and AG synchronization. If everything goes well, we have to do the same process for other secondary, and we have to do it same for other secondary as well. After completing 3 secondaries, we have to do failover from primary to secondary. After that, we have to apply the patch on the secondary, which is the primary earlier. So after patching is completed, we have to do the failback to make this primary as before. So that is a process of rolling upgrade.
Okay. Could you explain me the process of doing? Okay, I think you have mentioned this rolling upgrade process, right?
Yes.
Okay. I have a question for you, that is, do you know what is the major differences between this checkpoint and lazy writer?
Checkpoint is like whenever the data is flushes from log file to data file, there is a particular point based on the recovery model. If it is a simple recovery model, and an automatic checkpoint will happen. If it is a full recovery model, and manual checkpoint will happen. So wherever the point at which the data is flushes from log file to data file, that particular point we call this as a checkpoint. Coming to the lazy writer is a mechanism that it will write back the data from the data cache to the physical disk whenever the data cache is full. This mechanism we call this as a lazy writer. Like whenever the lazy writer finds that there is an unused data or dirty pages, these dirty pages or unused data will removed from the data cache, and it has to be write back to the physical disk. The process or the mechanism we call it as a lazy writer.
Okay. Can you explain me the movement of master database from one drive to another drive?
Since it is server level activity. We need a downtime for this. We have to raise a change and we have to get our approvals from that, because during the activity we have to restart the SQL services. So first we have to go to the SQL Server Configuration Manager, Properties and Startup Parameters. There we can see the -d and -l parameters. There we can find the data file path and log file path of a master database. So there we have to change the new path. We have to replace the new path wherever we want to place this master database. We have to place data file path at the -d parameter and log file path at the -l parameter, and we have to make the changes and we have to apply the changes. So after that we have to stop the SQL services and we have to move this master data file and log file to the new location, and then we have to start the SQL services so that the master data file and log file will be moved to the new location.
Okay, the further data is going to process with the new location, new path.
Yes.
Okay. Have you checked the SQL Server latest restart date and time? How can you check that?
We can see the server dashboard. There we can see the recent restart date and time, and we can also check the TempDB creation date. There we can see the date and time where the server restarted, and also we can check in error logs when this instance started, and we have DMVs as well. Select staff from sys.dm_exec_sessions, where when the first session is started we can check there.
Okay. What are execution plans available in SQL Server?
We have display estimated execution plan and include actual execution plan and like query statistics. If you want to see the plan without running the query, then we can use a display estimated execution plan, but it is not that much accurate. When it comes to the include actual execution plan, it will show you the exact plan after running the query, but in this case we have to run the query. And the live query statistics, it will run the query and it also generates the plan parallelly. You can see the query is executing and the plan is generating at the same time.
Okay. What is PLE?
PLE is like page life expectancy. As I said before, there is a data cache where the data is stored in a buffer pool. If the PLE value is how much time the data stays in a data cache. As long as the data is stored in a data cache, then the logical reads will happen, and the select query performance will improve, I guess.
Okay. What is the difference between dirty reads and dirty pages?
Coming to the dirty reads, whatever the uncommitted data we have, the data is inserted and the data is not yet committed, the data will be shown to the user. Whenever the data is committed, there is a chance of data is insert or delete. So reading the uncommitted data, we can call this as dirty reads. Coming to the dirty pages, so as I said before, the data cache having some limited space. So whenever that new data is inserted to the data cache, the old data has to be removed from the data cache. Whatever the old data, whatever the unused data, we can call it as dirty reads.
Dirty pages?
Sorry, sir. I'm sorry. Dirty pages. Whatever the unused pages or whatever less used pages, we call them as a dirty pages. Just confused. Yes.
Can I say dirty pages as the uncommitted data, whatever left over, whatever the transaction, active transaction going on a buffer? Can I call it as a dirty page?
No. What I'm trying to say is, whatever uncommitted data is called, we can call this dirty reads, reading the uncommitted data. Dirty pages is not the uncommitted pages, the pages which are placed in the data cache that not yet been used. The data is placed on the data cache, but the data is not used by the users. So those pages will not be used whenever we put this data cache. So that's why using the lazy writer, these dirty pages will be written back to the disk.
Okay, I would like to add on one point. So dirty page is something, the page which is not yet modified in the buffer.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, let me go ahead with few other questions which I have. Do you know what is max memory and max stop values?
Max memory is kind of how much memory that we are allocating to the SQL server out of the Windows box. If you have a imagine we have 100 GB of Windows memory. In that, the recommendation is like 75% of the total RAM we have to the memory we have to allocate to the SQL server. That is max memory. And coming to the max DOP, how many CPU cores we have in a Windows server, and how efficiently the SQL server is using those CPU cores. If you give the value of 2, it will be using only 2 CPU cores out of 8 CPU cores, and other CPUs are sitting idle. There is no use of it. If you give the value as 8, it will be using all the 8 CPU cores to execute the query. If you give this value of 0, it will be using the customized CPU cores. If the query is not a complex query, it will be using only one CPU or 2 CPU cores to execute the query. If the query is more complex and it need a more CPUs, then it will be using customized CPUs like 2 or 3 or 4. It will keep on increasing the CPU core usage if you are putting this value as a 0.
Okay, what is chaos threshold of parallelism value?
Cost threshold parallelism value, like it will decide how quick it will keep on adding the CPU cores. See, if the cost threshold parallelism value is 5, first it will take only one CPU core to execute the query. If the query is still executing and 5 seconds passed, it will add another CPU core. If another 5 seconds has been passed, it will add another CPU core. So for every 5 seconds, it will keep on adding the CPU cores. So if the cost threshold parallelism is less, then the parallel processing will happen that much quick. If the cost threshold parallelism value is high, like 50 seconds or 1 minute, then it will take more time to add the CPU cores and to happen the parallel processing.
Okay, what is the default value?
For cost threshold parallelism,
Right.
that is 5 seconds, I guess.
Okay, what's the best practice you can say as per Microsoft recommendation or something?
Below 10 seconds is good.
Can we make it around 5 to 50?
We can give any value, but as I said, if it is a less value, then all the CPUs will come into the use, or else it will take more time to to do a parallel processing. I think 5 is good. We can leave the
Okay.
default value as
5. Okay. What is this synchronous and asynchronous commit mode in always on?
If we configure for synchronous commit, what it will do is whenever the data is inserted, the data is committed on the secondary side first, and mean the secondary replica, and then after the data is committed on the secondary side, it will get an acknowledgement from the secondary. So after getting the acknowledgement from the secondary, the data will be committed on the primary side, so that there is no data loss, even though there is a time, because it has to wait for the acknowledgement, right? There is a slight latency, but there is a guarantee of no data loss. It will come to the asynchronous commit. The data will be committed on the primary side without waiting for any acknowledgement. In this case, there is a chance of data loss in asynchronous commit.
Which is high safety and which is high performance?
Asynchronous commit is a high performance, and synchronous commit is high safety. We are guaranteed that we have a very less minute data loss.
Okay. Okay, I have a scenario. I have 2 node replica and I configured with synchronous commit, as you said. Okay. The data is commit on the secondary side first, and then it will wait for the acknowledgement. So it will commit on primary side. What if the secondary is not healthy or it's not getting the acknowledgement from the secondary? How much time this primary will wait for this acknowledgement? Do you think this could be a data loss? Can we consider this one as data loss?
Understand. Like if the synchronous commit is configured, if the secondary is not healthy, how long it will be waiting for the acknowledgement to commit the data on the primary side. Yes, I understand. In that case, if the primary replica is not getting the acknowledgement from the secondary, it has to wait for a long time. There is a session timeout period. That is, if it is a session timeout is 30 seconds, it will wait for 30 seconds to get the acknowledgement. If still it is not getting the acknowledgement, then what happens is the synchronous commit will change automatically to asynchronous commit, and the data will be committed on the primary side. It will automatically changes whenever it wait for 30 seconds, whatever the session timeout is there. In this case, we don't have any data loss. Whenever the data is sync and the secondary is healthy, it will automatically changes to the synchronous commit.
Okay, yeah, that's right. Okay, Rajesh, I'm good from my end. So do you have anything for me? Do you have any questions?
No, I'm good. I'm good, Shweta. I don't have any questions.
Yeah, you'll get the update from my HR soon.
Okay.
Thank you so much for your time.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for your time. Thank you. Bye.
You too. Bye-bye. Good day.